Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 virtual Longmire Days. Once again, we're forced, through protocol like that to be virtual. We certainly would have preferred to be right there in downtown Buffalo, quasi Durant. But the good news is that we have these wonderful interviews, and we're at one of my absolute favorites, and just tickled to death that one of our favorite stars could join us. Miss Katee Sackhoff. Hi, Katee. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good. I'll be right back. I feel like I need to grab something for this.
Wait a minute. Hold on. There may be a prop involved. I don't know. Maybe it's a costume piece. I don't know.
No, I figure if I'm going to drink I should put it in something fitting.
From the Busy Bee Cafe.
There we go.
Which actually does exist, like that I might add. Well, it's so nice to see you. And thank you so much for taking the time. I mean, my gosh, when we heard about Katee's schedule, it was kind of horrifying. Like that she's running up and down. Is a lot of the shooting up in Canada? Is a lot of it up in Vancouver, up in BC? Or
yeah, so I just wrapped a project up in BC, but we were all over the place. We shot an entire movie in 3 weeks. It was insane. We were on sailboats. We were, in downtown. We were, it was crazy. It was all over the place. But yeah, it was a whirlwind. We wrapped Saturday morning. I don't even know what time we wrapped. I think I slept for a few hours. At 7 o'clock, I woke up to get on a ferry. I was so excited to get on the ferry. We got on the earlier ferry. And then I got to the airport like 3 hours early and just sat there, just so excited. Got on the plane, had one vodka and passed out.
Yeah.
So tired.
Well, you let me know if you need some reading material. I have a new book coming out in about 3 weeks, like that. So you just, throw me an address and I'll get you some reading material to carry with you, like that.
I'm a big fan. So absolutely.
You just want to see what Vic's up to. That's all you want to do.
I do. But I also have been spoiled, and I've gotten to read some of your other projects that you have. So I know what's in the hopper.
That's right. That's right. Well, I'll have you know, like that I decided that I was not going to take this on all by myself. So I guess it was like maybe about a week or so ago, like that. What I did was on social media, like that, I posted, and put your picture up, like it, and I said, if you got questions for Katee, like that, jump in and do it, like it, and I gave everybody like a 24-hour aperture, like to collect questions, like it. And I'll have you know that we only have about 3,000 questions to get through. So if you could keep your answers to one word, like that, or a look, that'll probably be best, like that, so we can get through this as quickly as possible.
I think that so many of them are probably, where do you think Vic is right now? Is she with
There's a lot of hypotheticals. There are a lot of hypotheticals. So I wanted to warn you before we got started. Like that. And so,
right.
So here we go. Like that, we'll get started because I know that you are extraordinarily busy, like that, and I don't want to keep you on for any longer than we have to. I just want to thank
you.
So lovely to see you.
It's
Tammy Taylor wants to know what would you have liked to have done more of with Vic's character? More humor, more shooting guns, more horseback riding?
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. I think that I don't know if Vic got to shoot her gun that much, to be honest. It was one of the things that I think I joked about, that I don't think she pulls it a lot, but I don't think she shot it a ton, right?
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, she shot it a few times, like the standoff with Chance. I think she shot a couple times. And the only reason I remember that was because we were filming that episode, the one where Vic does she get shot? I've completely forgot. In her leg, right? Yes, she gets shot in her leg. And I had this weird thing. I guess it happens to police officers when they fire their guns sometimes. It was cold out, so I was tensed up, and I had my gun, and I had my head cocked a little to the side, and I shot, and the recoil pinched a nerve, and it hit me in the eyeball. It was the weirdest thing. And I remember it was the scene where I was hiding behind the car in the shootout. And I remember turning around in the scene because I thought I got hit. It was windy that night. I thought I got hit by a branch in the back of the head. That's how hard it was. And I was like, what happened. And it instantaneously, this migraine overtook my whole body. And so you can see the scene, because we only got to shoot it one time. My face is pressed against that truck that I'm hiding behind, because the cold felt good on my head, and I didn't have it. And then as soon as the scene was over, I had to yell at Chance. I had to shoot the gun. And as soon as the scene was over, I was like shaking and like dropped to the ground, and they had to like carry me to my trailer. And by the grace of God, I don't know what they did that night. They shot without me for like 4 hours. I took like 12 Advil. The headache went away. It was crazy. It was more Advil than I'd ever gotten. But one of our executive producers gets migraines, and I guess it's the prescription dose of what you would get in the hospital.
Okay.
It was so much Advil, but the headache went away. And so I went back out just long enough for for Rob to pick me up and do the end of that scene. But that was largely my stunt double, because I was in so much pain. I'd never experienced anything like that. So I know that she shot her gun a few times. Remember that. But no, I think that I loved her humor. I loved the fact that she didn't ride horses all the time, because that was not her. I love the fact that, she didn't shoot her gun all the time. That's just not who Vic was. Like, I loved everything about her. I think if the scrappiness of her, I think that we didn't see enough of. Like, remember the pilot episode, they had me tackle a guy that was almost 7 feet tall, and I was on his back like a little spider monkey. That to me was who Vic was, and I wish we could have seen more of that physicality from her. But other than that, there's nothing else. She was just amazing.
Do you know that was almost me? Chris Chulak turned to me and he says, well, we'd like to get you in the pilot. And I was like, what do you mean, acting in the pilot? He says, yeah, you don't have to have any lines or anything. He said, well, there's a scene coming up. As a matter of fact, they're down there working on it now, but we can pull the actor and you can have that scene. And you were throwing him, I think it was Rio, wasn't it?
It was
Rio on the hood of the car. And I turned to Chris Chulak and I was like, no, I don't want to do that.
I've always done everything in my life with a lot of spirit. So.
Well, you intimidated me out of an acting career, I got to tell you. Just so you know. So, Stacy Knopick wants to know: do you look for roles that portray ultra aggressive women, or is that how you read a part and make it under your own? I'm thinking about Longmire and Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, what's funny is, to me, those women don't feel aggressive. To me, they feel like very independent, spirited, strong women that are complicated. Mm-hmm. And I think that I am really feisty. I don't think there's not a fighting bone in my body. I've never been that person that's like, get behind me, I'll take them. That's not me. I'm usually the person whose mouth gets them into trouble, and then I run for but I think that there is the women that I play are very complicated. And I think that because of that, sometimes they're consistently in this fight or flight mode. But the feistiness, I think, is probably just me. I had a brother growing up that was very tough on me, and he and I used to fight all the time. And my dad, I grew up in a small town in Oregon, and there were no girls teams, so I always played with the boys. And I remember my dad saying to me, you can play with the boys until you get hurt, and then you've got to go to the girls team, because there was a girls soccer team by the time I was about 13. And I remember sobbing the day I got hurt. The day I got hurt playing with the boys. And it wasn't because I was hurt. My dad was like, are you hurt or are you injured? And I was like, I don't want to play with the girls. Yeah. And
I may have to use that. That may become a Vic story. I may have to use that one.
But I realized that the women are 10 times more aggressive than the boys.
They're
awful. They're awful.
Horrifying. And then in the book that's coming out, it has a lot to do with girls basketball up on the on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation. So I went up and watched a lot of games, and I was like, wow, this is full contact basketball is what this is.
It is. I was in soccer games where I got tackled like I was on a football team, field. It was just crazy. I saw a girl's leg get broken from a slide tackle. Crazy stuff. So anyway, but I think that there was a part of me that's always been this tomboy, because I felt like I had to keep up with the boys. or have to go play with girls.
I also think you're right, though, like that the first statement that you made, as far as like, I mean, people would ask me, especially when the books first started out, about Vic's language, like, and I would always respond to him and say, you know what, if this was a 6'2" cowboy, you wouldn't be asking me these questions like that, I mean, it's totally reasonable that she uses this language. She has 4 brothers who were police officers, a father who was the chief of police for Philadelphia North. She would talk with this type of language. She just would like that. And I also want to sneak in that Katee actually snuck a few of Vic's, trademark words into episodes, and how, boy, you were good, because the censors didn't get it, the producers, nobody got it. You were slipping them in as we were watching. We would get to it, and Judy usually picks them up, because a lot of Vic's language comes from Judy, like that. And so, whenever we'd be watching an episode, Judy would be like, "Did she just say?" And I would be like, "Let's run it back. Let's see if she did." And boy, sure enough, like that. But boy, you had to be quick to pick them up. I was very
always
proud
tried.
of you.
It's interesting. I there's this thing that happened to me. I started acting when I was 14, maybe 16. I might be being over dramatic now. Part of my skill. But I remember being on movie sets from the time I was 18. I was on my own. My parents were gone. I was on film sets from the moment I was 18, and it was largely men. It was always men. And as a defense mechanism, because I was not confident, I was not a confident woman. I was a very insecure little kid who hid behind this bravado, because I realized that if I put on a bravado and I swore and I drank and I smoked cigarettes and I hung out with the boys, that I was not a threat. And they were not a threat to me. And it was this defense mechanism that I learned to embody on a film set, because I was around truck drivers all day long. And so I think that the characters of Starbuck and Vic actually developed on film sets of me pretending I was tougher than I was, so I, could hang out with the boys.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, next question. Let's see. Oh, well, Katie Cooper has one. Have you found that you've stayed in touch with the Longmire cast more than other projects? And if so, why?
I can't say more. I can say as much as Battlestar Galactica. The Battlestar family is a family. I mean, there are so many of those. We would bail each other out of jail. We probably give each other kidneys. It's just, we're family at this point. And I think that I never thought I would have that again, because I'm told it's incredibly rare. But we have that in Longmire. We have that family thing where even if we don't talk for 6 months, nothing's changed. You can get in fights, and have a falling out, and 2 months later you're fine, because we're family. And so it's as much, but I still believe it's rare. I think that the reason is that when you are on location and you're shooting a television show with the same people for 6 years, you can't help but choose them to be your family. I think that, Luann to me is like a grandmother, and I love her. She's hysterical. And, it's just fun. They're just Cassidy, and they're all so important to me. And, we all miss Rob all the time. So
it was interesting, because like Zahn, I think, got a similar question like that. And I was talking to him about it. And I said, well, I mean, it's a little bit different from a feature film, because I mean, a feature film, you're in for a month or two or whatever, and then you're gone. But like with a television series, it's like maneuvers, with the Eighth Army. I mean, you're in there for like 4 months for like 6 years, like that. And so there's a longer arc. And he kind of nodded his head and he goes, yeah, it could be a little bit of that. And I said, well, what do you think it is? And he goes, it was the personalities of the people that were in the show. He says, that's what it all boils down to. He said, if you've got people who are really giving and really connected like that, then, it lasts, it goes a little bit further than the show did. So that
it really does. And it starts at the top. I learned so much about how to be a number one on the call sheet from Rob. One of the things that I pride myself in now is when I show up to work, people always say, I've never seen anyone work as hard as you do. You've got a smile on your face every day. And every time someone says that to me, in the back of my mind, I think, because I learned from Rob. I learned how to get respect from a crew by just showing up, doing your job, but being positive every day. And that's who set that tone, was him, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's across the board. That's what everybody says. Like, Mary Negus says, you are amazing. What episode of the show did you realize that you and Walt had a chance of getting together?
You know, I think we knew from the very beginning, because I think we were sort of I was hoping, you know, I think that you never know if a series is going to follow its source material. And you never know, but I always played Vic that there was something there, that there was an infatuation, if only. But there was just this undying respect for this man who was everything that she admired in a man. He was everything that she ever wanted wrapped up in a person. And it was hard for her to not. There were moments when it was hard to be around him. Like, there were times when I feel like Vic was like, had the wind knocked out of her, because she would look at him a certain way, or she would be in close proximity with him and just like get like, just like the wind knocked out of her, and be like, I love this person, you know what I mean? And I was hoping that would happen. You know, I know that a lot of people were like, you know, she's too young for him, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you guys, there's only like 15 years difference. It's not that much. It's not, you know, like, I'm 10 years older than Robin. It's not, you know, although I do once a day, I have somebody on Instagram reach out to me and tell me that it's inappropriate that I married someone 10 years older than me. I'm like, what are you talking about? So stupid.
No, I had the same problem too. I mean, when I was writing the books, everybody was like, you know, well, you can have sexual, you can have sexual attraction, but you can't have anything happen for 17 or 18 books. And my immediate response to that was, what kind of women are you dating that would wait 17 or 18 years for something to quote unquote happen, you know? Yeah, and I think what was amazing though was the light touch that you used. I mean, it was there, you know, and you could see it and you could feel it like that, but it was just such a light touch that you used over those, you know, those episodes and over those different, you know, seasons, that you could see it build like that, but, you know, still just a wonderfully light touch.
Well, thank you. It's hard to be around Rob and not, he's so charming, and he's so, you know, as soon as he puts Walt on, you know, he is, it just, not that he's not in his normal life, but I never looked at Rob that way, right? Like, I never, like, you know,
well, he's married and has kids, you know, and all that, so that kind of takes him off the menu like that.
It really, you know, it does.
But Walt is still, you know, kind of available there, you know. So
as soon as he would put Walt on, he would just become like, there was something about him that was just like so capably attractive in just a weird way.
That's what I hear from all of the female viewers, especially. Like, and so that's perfectly understandable. So, Margaret Scott would like to know. Has followed you since Battlestar, but Longmire is your favorite. I would like to know which role was the closest to yourself.
Vic. Yeah, I think Vic. Vic was the Vic's the character, even still, that I sort of seamlessly fall into. Because she's so easy for me to play. She's right on the edge of who I am. And I find her to be there's a peaceful sort of like, there's a peace in me when I'm playing Vic. Whereas when I'm playing these other characters, there's this, insecure edginess that is really hard for me to sort of hold on to, because that doesn't exist in me. So,
maybe when you were 18, maybe when you were hanging out with the truck drivers when you were 18, like that. But hopefully we all kind of grow and develop a little bit as far as that's concerned.
That ended like after the first time I got arrested. I was like, well.
Yeah, this is not what I want to be. I don't want to do this. I want to eat off of a tray, you know, change to a chair anymore. Not my idea of a good time.
No.
Okay, let's see. Now, Brenda Borders Riddell says, your talents know no bounds, timeless universes. Your portrayal of Vic was spot on and a testament to women who are equally smart and tough as any man. Did you learn this attitude from your parents, and who were your role models growing up?
I think I did. Thank you. But I think I did learn that from my parents, I never once had my parents put a limit on anything that I could accomplish. My parents gave me a different curfew than my brother, who was only 17 months older than me. And my curfew was always an hour before his. And I said, that's unfair. It doesn't make any sense. We're at the same party. And my parents said, that's the world. You're a woman. It's different for you after midnight. And I was so frustrated by that because I felt so unfair. But what my parents did was that they forced me to acknowledge that the world was going to try to hold me back as a woman, and that things were never going to be the same for me as they were for a male, cohort that was right next to me. But that it didn't mean that I had to look at myself that way. It was just a restriction that society was putting on me. And so, but they were just training me to understand that my mom used to say, nothing good happens after midnight. There's just no reason. And so when I moved out on my own at 18, I was always home before midnight because I had it in my head that like nothing good happens after midnight. And there's a lot of trouble you can get into before 11.
Yeah, 11:15 can be just as dangerous as hell. Like I just.
But no, so my parents.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, they never told me I should be scared. When I moved to Los Angeles, I was 18 years old and my mom dropped me off by myself. And people were like, were you scared? And I was like, no, I had the blissful ignorance of youth that was like, of course you're going to be fine. But my parents never told me I should be scared. They never once said, lock your doors. Mm-hmm. They never once did that. They were like, we did the best we could. She knows how to stay safe. That's all we can do. So I looked at my parents as these incredibly strong role models of people who were successful. My mom went to college in a time when, it wasn't normal for women to go to college. And my dad, his father died when he was very young and he became like the man of the house and at like 12. And he was completely self-made. They accomplished so much. And I have so much pride in who my parents are as people, but also as business people, and their work ethic is astronomically impressive.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, there was that one party that we went to, like at your mother and I, like we just sat and talked for almost the whole time that the party was going on. And I had a great time, because I don't do well at parties anyway, and so we just sat over there and talked.
My mom doesn't either. She's very
well, it was good that we found each other then, like that. So that was kind of.
Give her a glass of wine and put her in a corner, and she's fine.
Okay, Herman Moeller wants to know, what are the acting differences between a drama like Longmire and a sci-fi like Battlestar Galactica?
Oh my gosh, I don't think there are any differences. I think that, a Western, Absaroka County, and a spaceship are just different thematic sort of, undertones, but they're both dramas where the location is a character. Right. And so they're both very similar shows. I think that the only thing primarily for me that's different, and I'm thinking more so because Battlestar was so many years ago, I almost forget, but I'm thinking more of like something like the Mandalorian and then, or Another Life and then Longmire. The main difference is it's the memorization. Longmire dialogue comes very easily because it's words you've heard before. Right. It's things that have come out of your mouth, and it's a natural progression. You should be able to, with good writing, know what your character is going to say next and not have to think about it. You could almost ad-lib your way through it. Whereas with sci-fi, I tell young actors, you've got to be 10 times as memorized for sci-fi as you would for something else, because the words are not natural. It's got to be what playing a doctor is like. You're saying things that you would never understand. And I learned that during Battlestar, I had to say, we've got violent decompressions irradiating from the port flight pod. I cannot forget the line because I thought I was going to get fired. I didn't realize you've got to be able to lose yourself in a character, and the dialogue should be so ingrained in you that you are then freed up to play. Whereas with Longmire, you were given that freedom to play because the lines just came to you, because they were natural. So that's the biggest difference. And then just wardrobe. Wearing spacesuits is so uncomfortable.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like, and I mean, even no matter whatever it is, it's a Western, it's a sci-fi, whatever, you're still a human being. Like, and so it would seem like even the more distracted and the more spectacular the scenery, the costumes, the special effects and all that are, you have to overcome that to still portray someone who is a living human being like that, that we're going to, the viewers are going to care about.
You've got to figure out what your character's goals are and who they are morally. And then they're all the same, it's just, they're just different.
Okay, now that brings me to one question I was going to sneak in here like that. Now, with your character on The Mandalorian, like that, you did this as a voiceover at first, right? This was an animated character that you did as a voiceover like that, and then came to full fruition like that, on The Mandalorian. Like that. So what was that like? Like that, it had to be a little bit strange. It was kind of very flattering, I'm sure, for them to say, hey, by the way, we'd like you to play this character for real, like that, in real life.
Yeah, I still pinch myself, right? Because I've said this before that I think that with my career, for myself anyway, there's been a natural sort of progressive ladder to the roles that I've played. This is when you sort of feel like you've stepped up and into something greater than the career that you've amassed on your own. Is a strange thing. It's a very intimidating thing because you're like, why am I here? Like like the craft service budget of a Star Wars show is that of an entire Longmire episode.
Yeah.
It's just a very different thing. And I never dreamed that I would get an opportunity to do that. I was just playing the character because I love Star Wars. I've always loved Star Wars. My dad raised me on sci-fi and Westerns and action movies. And so when they sort of called and asked me to go sit down with Jon Favreau, it didn't occur to me what was happening until I was like halfway through that meeting. And I saw, the art on the walls and realized that it was my face. And it was just the most overwhelming. I was completely out of my body for that. It was just so strange. And I was so excited to like call my dad and tell him.
I'm part of the universe, just so you know.
I'd signed an NDA that was like this thick, so I couldn't tell my dad. It was crazy. It was absolutely just insane. And still is, but it's funny. I when I put the helmet on and I play her, it's actually easier for me to do the helmet work because it's like voiceover again.
Okay.
I can move my face. I can act like a crazy person in the helmet. Nobody cares because as soon as I go to play Bo-Katan, I have to sit really still. She's very stoic, and there is not an ounce of me that is.
Stoic. No, it's not the first word I come up with when I think of you. No,
no one does. I mean, if somebody ever said that about me, I would be like,
yeah, really. Are you looking at stills or what are you looking at there? Just so you know.
Exactly.
Now that also brings me to another quick question I have to squeeze in here really fast, like at just, in between, like that was that as I was talking to Zahn, like he was lamenting the fact that he hadn't been on a motorcycle in like about 6 months because every time he does a show, they make him sign the release that says he will not climb on a motorcycle. When's the last time you were on a motorcycle, Katee?
I'm so sad. I literally just talking to my manager about this today. And I went, can we double check what my contract says, please? Can we make sure that my contract states that it's within this time frame and not just in perpetuity of the contract? So yeah, it's been a while. It's been over a year.
Wow.
Over a year.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I moved them in the driveway. I cleaned them
in the dark and the cover of darkness when no one could see, right? Like
helmet on.
Yeah. That was my brother. That was my brother. That wasn't me. So,
I know. Yeah. But my manager just said, he goes, in the time that it takes to shoot different seasons of certain shows, you could break your arm, heal, break your leg, heal again, and still be fine. It's like, I know. You go tell them that.
Brutal. Yeah. I couldn't believe that, because he had the exact same response you did. He was like brokenhearted. He was like, oh man,
Yeah.
I haven't been on a bike in almost a year, like that, so.
Yeah. It breaks my heart. And then there's also this like insecurity thing that almost starts happening where you then go like, I'm consciously aware of how dangerous it is to ride a motorcycle. I know all the time. I don't think about it when I'm riding, but I'm aware of it enough that I'm safe on my motorcycle. When people around you start treating you like it's the most dangerous thing in the world that you could possibly do, there is a piece of you that goes, should I get back on that thing?
Yeah.
Weird. And I never wanted that to happen.
Judy is mine for that. Like that, Judy's my contract for that. Like that. Every time I go down to the shop to get on one, she's like, all right, well, it's been nice knowing you, like that. So,
I think I'm sort of a part of me that's like, maybe I should get a trike for a while.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing? Like, will I feel the freedom of the road if I've got three wheels? And probably not, right?
You won't. No. Sorry. Not buying into it. Just can't. Sorry. So anyway, that was my quick question. I just wanted to squeeze that in there as quick as I could.
Breaking my heart, Craig.
Barbara Lynn Garibaldi would like to know, you always look so fit. Do you have a workout routine that you use daily or just a few days a week? If so, what kind of exercises do you do? What do you do?
So it actually changes, it changes depending on the role. I think of the body as a part of the character. And so depending on what the character is doing and what they've done in their life, it does shift. Not a ton. I've never had to gain. Well, for Riddick, I gained like, 15 pounds of muscle. I was very big. My clothes didn't fit. Because I was around all these men that were so big that I was like, I can't be dinky in this role. I've got to stand next to Dave Bautista and not look like a shrimp. So, which is not possible, mind you. And so
just give you a bigger gun. Just give you a bigger gun. Like
they did. They gave me a gun.
As I recall, that was the case. Yeah. Yes.
So, fitness has always been a part of my life from the time I was very young. That was instilled in me, and I love moving my body. There will come a time in my life when my body tells me that I can't do certain things anymore. And so I am just like, keep going until I drop. But I'm also a strange human being. There is something that loves feeling like I'm going to throw up in the middle of a workout. I don't know what that is. It's one of my favorite things to see people throwing up around me and still being able to go. Like I love it. There is this competitive nature in me that competes against myself and the people around me. But it changes. I think that on average, I work out 4 days a week. And it changes between lifting heavier potentially for some roles, and then going more into the cardio, lighter weight band type workouts for some roles. But it's always something. And my diet is, I think I don't eat healthy until I talk to someone about what I eat. And then they're like, oh my God, that sounds awful. But I always lose weight when I'm working because I don't like to eat when I work. It's a very strange thing. I sort of survive off of protein bars and hard-boiled eggs and fruit throughout the day, because as soon as I become consciously aware of my wardrobe, I'm pulled out of the character. So if I go to lunch and I have too much food and I can feel my pants on me differently than I did in the morning, I'm consciously aware of the character's clothes, and it pulls me out of the character. So it's better for me to just not eat during the day and eat just enough to keep my energy level up. And then I go home and I have a big dinner. So that seems to be the way that I eat. And then I have like a cheat reward day on Fridays where I drink. So I've had to, and I don't know what it's like for everyone else, but the older I get, the harder it is to maintain a certain body type, while drinking. And I'm not talking about getting drunk. I'm talking about having 2 glasses of wine a night. Just, that there is, as soon as I cut alcohol out, my body loses 5 to 10 pounds.
Right.
So I give myself Fridays to eat whatever I want. And then during the week, I eat protein and a lot of vegetables, but I also eat a lot of carbs, ate a lot of potatoes for energy and things. But that's pretty much it. I love workout classes. I love jazzercise. Dude, one of my favorite things.
You have like an athletic build, like, and I remember when I was talking to the producers, when they were doing the casting for Longmire, I said, whatever you do, please don't get an actress model who's like, 5'10" and weighs 100 pounds. Please get somebody who looks like they're physically capable, of being a police officer in Philadelphia, like that. And so when you showed up, I was like, well, there you go. Like that worked pretty well, didn't it? Like that. So
this industry has changed though too, right? Like when I first started, I was auditioning for every character you could think of that was described in the breakdowns of the chubby best friend, the unattractive best friend, the girl who's trying to lose weight, and I'm the same size I am now. I had baby fat on me, someone the other day was like, what did you do to your face? I was like, got old. Just got old. The fat leaves your face and you just haven't changed anything.
I had an argument with some woman on Facebook or something that swore that Robert dyed his hair like it. And I was like, no, he doesn't, like that, and she was like, I saw, from season to season, you could see where, and I was like, no, believe me, of all the people in the world that would ever dye their hair, Robert is like dead last, for goodness sake.
He would never. No, it's really funny, just that people don't seem to understand what faces naturally do. If I gain or lose 5 pounds, it comes off my face first. Very strange.
It's the nature of the beast, I'm afraid. Like that. So, let's see. Chris Page would like to know, what was your favorite episode of Longmire?
Oh gosh. I loved the episode with Walt and Standing Bear out when he oh God, it was so long ago. I don't even remember the name of the episode. When Standing Bear was tied up.
Staked out.
Yeah. Staked out. I loved that episode. It was such a strong, powerful episode. I don't remember what it was called. I don't remember what it's called. And I remember Lou like not eating for like a week.
Well, Robert in his interview was talking about how much weight he had to lose, for the last season, because he was scared to death because he had to do that final scene with you at the end like that. And he said, she looks great always like that. And he said, I knew, boy, I had to lose some weight and I had to try and look the best I could possibly look like that. So evidently you kind of intimidated him a little bit there throughout the entire season.
He came back like Rob was the same way. Like he came back and he just looked amazing. I was like, what'd you do? And he's like, stop drinking beer.
And that's a terrible thing for Robert to have to do. Oh my gosh.
Them Aussies, they can drink.
That's like asking him not to breathe for 6 weeks or something like that. That would be horrible.
No.
All right. Here's one from Amber Stiltner Stacy. Were you satisfied with how the series ended with Walt and Vic, or would you have liked to have had a different ending?
I loved the way that it ended. It ended in this place that they acknowledged how much they loved each other, but that it wasn't wrapped up in a pretty little bow and made to be this simplistic future for them. It was complicated and different, and they're both very different. She's forever changed after the loss of her child, and he's different, like after the loss of his wife. And ironically, it's sort of that thing where I think that they understand each other even better now, but I don't think it's a simple future for them. I think that they, to me, they're still together. That phone rings and I think it's Vic just being like, "When you get me back? I'm still sitting at your house. I'm not leaving." I think she's moved in.
I wouldn't disagree with any of that. I wouldn't. I mean, that was the thing, like that, because I mean, like I said, people were, wondering about the romantic conflict aspect, and I threw that in right there, in Kindness Goes Unpunished, the third book, and so all I thought was, all it's going to do is complicate their lives. All it's going to do, and that's kind of what any kind of story is going to feed from, like it is that kind of complexity.
Of course, I mean, it's sort of one of those things of you know, it's not going to be easy, but one more day without this person is a death sentence. It's just like, you can't breathe, you can't eat without being with them. That is so much worse than the effort you're going to have to put in to make it work.
Yep, I agree. All right, this is your last question. Chet Carlson would like to know, what are you working on now? What are you doing? What are you up to?
Oh my Lord in heaven.
Try and scale it down, to, at least,
on the personal side of things, we finished renovating our house all through COVID. It took much longer than it should have because of that. And we were stuck up in quarantine up in Canada, trying to do our, all our design, everything. We were doing everything stuck up in Canada. It was really, really hard. So we got home last Christmas.
So you renovated from afar?
We started here. So because we did the demo ourselves to save money. My fiance and
Why does that not surprise me? What is
Let me tell you something.
Especially the demo part. What is it?
Never, ever, ever tell someone that you're willing to help them demo stucco off of a 1,000 square foot house. My hands at night, it took us 7 days for 3 people. My fiance, his brother, and I did the whole thing. We took the roof off ourselves. We did everything ourselves. My hands every night were so swollen from using the crowbar and a sledgehammer to get that stucco off that my hands were so, it hurt so bad. And then one of the contractors or not contractors, but one of the framers on our house told me that his grandmother uses rubbing alcohol on her hands, and to put rubbing alcohol on your hands, and it works. It sucks the moisture out, and it's pretty crazy. It dries them out, obviously, which is gross, but it does. It gets the fluid out of them, and it was so hard. We just for 7 days straight did nothing from sun up to sundown. We demoed this house. It was crazy. But we left about the time that they were just starting to put the bathrooms in and lay the tile. That's when we left.
Okay.
And it was really sort of frustrating to leave at that time. But anyway, we're back. The yard is finally getting finished, which we also did ourselves because it's so hard as a contractor's daughter to pay more for something that you less. You know what I mean? Like when you get these bids from these people and you're like,
really?
You just end up doing it yourself. So, So Robin is outside doing something. I can see him. He's outside working right now. So that's almost it. That's
so you're using us as an excuse to not be out there. Is that what you're saying? Like so.
True. And so that's what we've been doing. Our wedding is in October. So we're so excited about that. And then I just wrapped a movie up in Canada that's very, very, very special to me. And I can't say anything about it. It's special to me for so many personal reasons. It's just, it's something that I don't think people would expect when they find out that this movie, what it is. But it's very special. It's very special for so many reasons, for who wrote it and what it is and what the idea came from. So I was an executive producer on it too. So it was a really beautiful experience. It was 2 years in the making. So long road. But that just wrapped. And then I start my next project here in tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
I have a wardrobe all this week. And then I think we, start filming soon, but that'll take me, for a good length of time, but it's just, can't even say what that is. It's one of those things.
You're working undercover, like that, and no one can find out about these things, but we'll all know about it sooner or later, like that. So
sooner or later, October is a huge month for me. A lot of things are coming out. We've got the second season of Another Life is in the can and ready to come out, and the movie I just filmed will be out before the end of the year. And it's a big year. It's a big weird year.
Well, Katee, thank you so much for being here with us like that. It's lovely. It would be so much better if you actually were here like that, but we'll take the virtual version of you any day of the week. Like that. Thank you so much. Like that.
No,
We
thank
look
you.
forward to it.
Yeah, I hope that we can get back there in person. I miss everyone. It's such a beautiful time of year to get together, not only with the cast and with you and Judy, but with all the fans, like this show and your books have meant, and these characters have meant so much to so many people. And they've given, such a beautiful escape for so many people. And that's what art is, right? And we need that more than ever right now. So
I'd say so. Well, we're only calling this year 9.5, so we can have the 10th anniversary next year, like that. So we're saving it just for you, like that.
I
So.
hope so. Maybe I'll be able to actually ride a motorcycle by then.
There you go. Like I get some in between time. Thank you again, Katee. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
It's
Craig.
so nice to see you.
Talk to you later. Can't wait to read the new book.
I'll get it out to you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.